Dude, you already got, yeah, you,
fine, but yeah, it's,
Okay, so my people, all right, let's get this thing started. Okay. The Nara and Amani. All right, so all right, everybody doing tonight?
Hello, Professor. I'm good.
Good. All right,
I'm good,
got-
Dr.
Huh?
Ken, thank you.
oh, good. Anybody got any questions before we get started?
yeah, the group research
Yeah.
discussion this week. It has a part in there asking, like, it wants us to ask each other questions on the Zoom. Do you want us to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just set like one person to ask somebody else a
Yeah,
question
yeah.
or have a proctor ask.
Yeah, ask a pro- yeah.
questions.
That's
Okay.
what I would do, yeah.
All right, I'll do that.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, we're good. All right. So, yeah, go ahead.
Professor, I have a question. So I don't have my grades on the final paper draft, which I sent it to by email.
Yeah, I'll get to that. No, I got
Okay.
it. I got
Thank
it.
you.
I usually do all that stuff the last week where I just catch up on
Okay.
all the loose things that, so I have your paper, I have another student's paper, just to kind of change the grade.
Got it. Thank you.
Last topic we're gonna talk about in this class, is global HR, okay? And so, as you can tell, you know, our society, we are become more globalized with, you know, the world becoming a lot smaller, and the things that impact one area, you know, impact, you know, all areas for the most part, right? As we can see in Israel, you know, what's going on over there is impacting us. What's going on in Russia and Ukraine is impacting us. And so we have to also look at how our businesses and corporations being global, right? Being and multinational corporations, right? They all want a footprint in the foreign market because that allows them greater access to the market and to people, which means more money. Okay, at the end of the day, that's really what it boils down to. And so you have to be able to manage these folks, right, in some efficient and productive way, especially if you don't have boots on the ground, right? If you're not physically there, right, you can enter the foreign market through a joint venture or a partnership. But if you have a physical entity there, that's one thing. But if you just have a partnership or some alliance that's on paper, and you guys conduct your operations independently but come together at some point, then there still needs to be some way in which we manage the resources, right? How do we make it more efficient? Because the whole point of having, you know, a partnership or alliance is for us to maximize all these, you know, resources and lower our cost, right? It has to be beneficial to both parties, right? And so companies always try to get into the foreign market in order to enable themselves to you know, gain greater market share, more exposure to different things, innovations and resources, you know, just for different reasons, okay? And just want to impact the world, whatever, in a larger, broader sense, okay? And so the workforce and the staff that goes with that, right, they have to manage also, right? And HR rules are different everywhere, okay? What happens in the US and how we roll, come on now, yeah. What happens in the US and how we handle, you know, our workforce is not the same as Europe handles their workforce, as India handles their workforce, as China handles their workforce, right? Things are different. And so if you have a presence and you're dealing with international employees, for whatever standpoint you're looking at, how do I pay them? How do I manage their holidays and benefits? How do I deal with grievances and issues that, you know, come up in the, you know, is sexual harassment a thing in China? Is sexual harassment, you know, hostile workplace, is that a thing in Japan? How did that look like, you know, in Europe, right? So those things are different. So you have to be able to manage those things if you have, you know, your headquarters in one place, but you're playing by the rules of another place, all right? So how do I figure that out? And this is what global HR is about. And as we start to endeavor into more technology and automation and just, you know, again, becoming more global, you're going to see this being more prevalent and relevant because we tap into different pools of people as far as workforce, right? We bring people over from all types of different countries to come in the United States, and other people from here go to other countries to work, right? For whatever reason, whether it be family dynamic or more pay here, more opportunity, or it's something that they really love doing and it's only in a specific region, that kind of thing, right? Wherever the resources are, most people will go minor, or if I'm doing a certain type of work, maybe it's very, I need to be on the coast to be a fisherman. I can't be a fisherman in Idaho. I can't, yeah, that's not gonna work, right? So I need to be on the coast. You know how to get fish in Idaho, huh?
I don't know, I don't even know where I don't.
I don't know where
I
Idaho
know
is.
it's like somewhere there.
In the Midwest. Idaho is in the Midwest. It's landlocked.
North, yeah.
Yeah, it's landlocked, all right? So anytime I talk about the Midwest pretty much landlocked. Right? There's no
Well,
real
maybe
water.
they have lakes.
Yeah, they do, but
You don't commercial.
yeah,
fish
you're
away.
not gonna, you're gonna kill the lake. Yeah, you don't want to eat out there anyway, I don't think. I don't know.
No, they're good.
Yeah, so, you have to understand those things, right? And then, compensation, how do I deal with that, right? Not only just the fact of compensating appropriately, right? Just because I paid somebody here $50,000, do I pay $50,000 in the Philippines? No. All right, that's the whole point of me going over there probably is because I get cheaper labor, right? Taiwan, Malaysia. These are why things are made in other countries inside the United States, right? Because the labor costs are cheaper, and so I get a better price, on the markup, the margins, right? So that's what I want.
It's easy, I mean, from the point of the employer, it's easier for them, because here you have so many rights, right?
Yeah, you have a lot of rules, right? The funny thing,
You just go to work and you work and
Yeah.
complain and.
that's it, yeah. The funny thing is, as many rules as we have here, Europe has more rules. They're very, very stringent. Canada is super. They have a lot of rules to protect the employee. In the United States, we're more about the employer, right? Europe, I think, is probably more employee, more geared toward the employee. So you have to understand all those things in order to manage your business effectively and not get in trouble every time you turn around and be like Mark Zuckerberg, testifying every 2 seconds, right? You go to the court, oh, China's mad at you, Japan's mad at you, Germany's mad at you. All these countries are mad at you, right? United States is mad at you, right? They're all mad because of some labor law, something privacy, or something is not right that doesn't fit with their laws. Come on in, right? And so, you have to understand these things, right? And so these companies, again, like I said earlier, they get in there and they're trying to, and then they get market share, right? Market share leads to increased revenue leads to more profits at the end of the day. But with that comes issues, okay? Comes a lot of problems that you have to really deal with. So the best thing is to always try to have a footprint, a physical footprint in these countries, right? Whether you send a small staff or you send one person or 2 people, right? But when you start sending people places, right, different countries, there's a huge learning curve, right? Culturally speaking, okay? I could go to Africa and maybe blend in okay. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I can't do that on you.
Okay, no worries. It's too late now, it's week 8. You are late. Yeah, I can go to Africa, right, and probably blend in, right? But an African that lives in the region, in the local area, probably gonna see me and be like, you're not African. Right? They're gonna be like, you kind of look at what you're not, right? Because they're gonna know, right? They're gonna kind of just see, you just know, right, sort of. And so I may go over there, but it's still gonna be a culture shock for me, right? I'm sure you guys came to the United States, you're like,
Not very expected.
right, a
You
lot.
don't even think what everything is different.
No, you don't think, you think it's all the same. You think you're gonna come, it's gonna be like you're at home. Nope, not even close, right? And so you have to account for these things when you send somebody on an overseas assignment, right? Again, one of the good experiences that I had and, Christopher had and whoever's in the military, they send you off overseas all the time. Right? They'll send you to Japan, or they'll send you to Korea, or they'll send you to wherever, right? It just becomes a regular type, what is it? It becomes a regular type thing, right? And back in the day, I don't know if it's changed now, we didn't really get any cultural training. right? They just sent you and you went. And when you got there, the people that were already there were the ones that's supposed to train you up and teach you the ways of the country, right? How do you behave in Japan? How do you behave in the Philippines? How do you behave in Puerto Rico, wherever it is they sent you, right? You have to understand those things. Fortunately for us as a military, we didn't have to worry about different pay bands and that kind of thing, but you still have to abide by the local laws and the local regulation, local rules, right? So we have to know that, right? It doesn't matter if you're military or you're government or a US entity, you still need to know the local rules and local customs and courtesies, right? Because as an individual, you have to live in this place, right? And unless you decide to just stay inside your house and not be involved in the community, right? You're gonna have to figure out what is the social norms of this place, right? Is it normal for people to, like in Italy, is it normal for people to just close shop at 1 o'clock and go to sleep? Or go take a break and not come back till 4, right? That doesn't work in the United States. It doesn't go that way. Is it normal to be polite to elderly folks when you're in Japan, right? Because the way that society is, right? They appreciate and they have a reverence for older folks, right? Is our society or is their society a collective society or is it more individualistic, right? Is it more capitalistic? All those things go into play when you're talking about having a company that goes over to another country, right, and managing those people, right, and trying to figure out, okay, what's the proper compensation? What's the proper job for them? Do I need to train them up on, different languages and different cultural aspects of, the society? Is there going to be a problem if my significant other dresses a certain way, right? When you go to Dubai, you go to the Middle East, if you're a woman, you kind of have to dress a certain way, right? You just can't go out nilly-willy the way you want, right? You can as a foreigner, but you're definitely gonna get some looks. Okay, they're either gonna look at you funny or they're gonna think you're disrespecting the culture. There's a whole lot of stuff, right? Religion, all this stuff gets played into, yeah, all this stuff gets played and counted into in when you are talking about global HR, right? And how do we handle particular situations? All right. Anybody have any questions for you guys that just walked in about anything? No? Okay, good. All right. So exporting goods, we're looking at international expansion. Really, there's a couple different ways you can get into a foreign market, right? You can do a joint venture, you can do a partnership, you can do an alliance, you can do a actually multinational corporation, like have an actual company there physically with a building and everything. You can do what is most commonly done is FDI, which is foreign direct investment. So basically, companies take money and what they do is they find a company in that country they want to be at. And they go to that company and say, look, we don't want a partnership, but what we're going to do, we're going to invest in your company in certain technology, certain things that you're doing, because we like what you're doing and we want to try to get in there. So they'll say, we're going to give you $1 million and we want you to allocate it to this department or this particular thing, right? So what that does for the entity that's trying to come into the country, right? It shields them basically, because now I'm not coming directly into the country. I'm coming through an established company that the government is not going to be paying attention to, right? I'm just giving them money, right? And what they do internally really doesn't matter to the government, except if you got state-owned entities like like Russia and North Korea and stuff like that that control pretty much everything, right? But aside from that, they usually go through foreign direct investments because it's the easiest way. You don't have to send anyone. It's pretty low risk for the most part, right? Except for the amount of money you're sending, and you can break that up, right? And I'm saying 250,000 this year or this quarter. I'll say another 500 next quarter. See how things go, and so that kind of sort of thing, right? When you start sending people, right, physical people starts over there. This is where the HR aspect kicks in, right? And understanding, okay, what do I need to do to make sure that this person is taken care of? The hardest part really about sending someone overseas or to a overseas assignment is making sure that person is the right person, that they're qualified, right? Not qualified in the sense that they have all the experience or degrees, but mentally and culturally, are they qualified, right? You can't send someone on an overseas assignment who's very close-minded and who has certain opinions about certain things, right? You have to be open-minded when you go to another place because it's going to be different, right? It's going to be strange, right? You go to, I remember when we went to Korea and we were in Pyongyang or Osan or something, Busan or somewhere, right? And I was walking down the street with my Marines, and they had chicken feet for sale, right? And some of my Marines were freaking out. They're like, "It's chicken feet. Oh my goodness, what are we eating?" And it didn't bother me because my family's Caribbean. I had chicken feet, and there's nothing, whatever, the chicken feet, right? But it freaked them out. So in their mind, it took them a while to really wrap their uh, head around the culture and understanding that, yes, chicken feet are fine. No, you're not gonna find hamburgers in India, all right? Or they don't eat, they eat horse in different countries, right? That was another shocker for them, or dogs and cats. Dogs and cats are pets for us, right? They are friends. Some countries, they're food, okay? Bugs, food, right? So you have to have someone who is willing and ready to take that on, all right? And then you have to think about, okay, are they going alone? That's one thing. But if they're going with their family, it's a whole different ballgame, right? Because now I have to consider their family and how their family is going to assimilate. And you don't want to send anybody or spend the money on someone. You send them away to a job, and then 6 weeks later, they're like, "I'm not gonna make it. We need to come back," right? Because it's just too much. The cultural shock is just too much. The restrictiveness is too much, right? And so you have to find the right person, and really that's the battle I think that most companies have, is find the right person, because there's a learning curve culturally, there's a learning curve professionally, learning how that particular country works, all right? As far as time, what the expectations are. And normally if you're going to overseas job, and the company sending you, you're probably pretty high up, right? They don't send any junior folks out for overseas assignments as far as the corporate world goes. So you're pretty senior. So, but what does that look like for you, right? Who do you have to deal with? If I'm a senior person in Apple, am I dealing with, the government? Am I dealing with the local mayor, right? The governor, those type of things. And you have different countries that are broken up in different ways, right? The city, maybe the city, but then within the city, there's 50 villages. And each village has a village elder that has a say in everything that goes on in the city. Do I gotta talk to each one of these people? All right, how does that work exactly? What's the most important thing to this community, right? Are we safe? Do I need to, go in and get extra security? If you get overseas assignments, like I have a friend that got sent to Colombia, right? Colombia, they assigned her a bodyguard. She has an armored vehicle with a bodyguard 24/7, right? Because they will kidnap you in Colombia, okay? And they don't care who you are. They will kidnap you. They think they can get money out of you. They will kidnap you in many instances, right? Not just regular us, but if they know you work for a big company and you're high level, those guys and gals, they have security with them. They have certain precautions they take, right? Do I really want to go to a place where there's a potential to get kidnapped? Do I want to deal with that stress, right? You have to have the right person for that. You have to have the right mindset for that. And as a company, what assurance and insurance do I have against that, right? Where if the person gets kidnapped, my mechanisms in which I get that person back. How does that work in your country? Is it like, Mexico where, the cartel pretty much runs the government, right? So if you get kidnapped, there ain't nobody to call, right? Whatever the cartel wants, you better give them. You want that person back. If not, you probably won't see that person again, right? Sounds crazy, all true, all right? So these are some of the things that you will encounter if you're truly trying to get into a foreign space, as from the global HR perspective, right? The HR person has to think about all those things before they start sending people off on assignments. There's just some countries where they're not gonna let you in, right? It's not gonna, Russia, for the most part, we don't really have any footprint, right? Because it kind of, a lot of times, the countries, it goes a little deeper than just business in certain ways, right? It's a political tool, right? And people start thinking about, countries start thinking about, is this a way for this country to infiltrate my government? Okay, that's what they think about. And so if they feel that you're using this person as a pawn to get into my country or, infiltrate my system, they're not going to let you in. All right, China's like that. China doesn't let anybody in that's not Chinese into the government, right? We, on the other hand, we have people that are not necessarily American within our government system, within the mechanism of how things work here. Russia, no, right? They have a few people here and there, but for the most part, they know who they are, right? So you have certain countries that will not let you in. That's why we have people in prison right now in other countries, right? That are, we got back, what's his face? Well, we got back the basketball player, right?
Pretty great.
Yeah, Brittany Griner. We there's still, the
Gave
former
up the
Marine.
Gave up the merchant of death for her.
Yeah, we had a merchant of death for, hey, sometimes you gotta do that, right? But we have the former Marine, he's a IT guy. And I think they thought he was spying. He's been there for like, I think 7, 8 years now in prison. They trying to trade, they're trying to do a deal to get him back. Can't do nothing, right? Just stalemate, right? And so all these things have to go, huh?
What did you do?
They said he was a spy.
Oh.
They said he was a spy. But those things are made up. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know the guy. I wasn't there, but former Marine, IT guy, normally, I mean, yeah, and Anna, you're right. I don't know. I don't know. What he said is that he wasn't. Right. Well, but there's some people that, get caught like, yeah, that's what he was doing. That's what she was doing. And they know it, right? So, you don't hate too much about them. But the folks that aren't doing anything, they just get accused of because somebody is suspicious. Most times it just turns out that they were just doing their job and whatever it is they were doing, people didn't understand or it looked a certain way. And so they're like, oh, yeah, you're a spy. All right. So why keep this person if they're a spy? Why keep him in prison? Just send him back home. All right. No, they keep him. All right. So he's been there for about 8, 9 years now, I think. No, probably not gonna make it out. Right? And so all those things, right? And he went over there as an IT contractor. Somebody just sent him, go do this job and come back home. He ain't back home yet. Right? And so all these things are things that we have to think about, like deciding on where do we want to go actually be global. Right? Just because the country's there don't mean we need to go there. Right? Don't even mean we need to do business. And then what type of business do I want to do and how do I get into that country doing business? We do business with Russia, we do business with everyone, right? But we do it in different ways. Right? We do foreign direct investment with Russia, and we do the same thing with China, right? We have to do business with China. Right? And China is the leading manufacturer of the world and labor and all this other stuff, right? Although it's declining and they're becoming less and less relevant, at the end of the day, the countries need commerce, okay? They need the business, all right? And so they're going to let you in. It just depends how they let you in, to what level, who you're sending, right? Because if I'm going to send you to a country, you better believe the country you're going to, they're also going to vet you. They're going to check you out. They're going to do a background check. They're going to make sure they know everything about you. They'll contact somebody in the United States, like, oh, can you just do a check on this person that said he's coming over here or she's coming over here to do some work? Apple's sending them. Can you send them, we just want to make sure they're good to go, right? Because there's such a fear of, espionage. There's such a fear of a spy and then, that kind of infiltration, right? And so they don't, really mess around too much. So these are all considerations for HR. right? For you guys, for considering going overseas or sending someone overseas, okay? So there's different ways to do it. All right, so this is Hofstede's cultural difference dimension, right? And we can go, there's a whole, like, a week worth of classes on Hofstede, okay? So Hofstede came to the point where he did a long amount of research, like 20 years worth of research in the corporate setting, business setting, worldwide, okay? And he came up with these different dimensions that kind of describe the workplace in a universal sense, right? These rules apply, these particular things apply everywhere you go. And if you can kind of get a feel for each one and understand each one, then you should be good to go. Each country, and there's, if you look it up on the internet, there's a Hofstede Cultural Dimension Index. Each country has a different score in each one of these categories. Okay, and there's a whole lot more categories than this, right? Oh, here's the dimension, right? So each one kind of lays out what the country is, right? And so let me go back here real quick, right? As I said before, are you individualistic or collective society, all right? Japan is collective. We're more individual, right? Where it's about us. It's about me. It's about you, right? Internally, right? The things that we do are not for the benefit of each other, they're benefit of me, right? They happen to benefit you, cool. But if I do good, then more likely we all do good, right? This is the capitalistic kind of structure, right? So each man for himself, and if you don't got it, you don't got it, right? Whereas Japan, it's not like that. Japan is more like, oh, did you eat? Did you eat? Did you eat? Did you eat? No? Okay. What do you got? All right, well, cut this up into 5 pieces, okay? Because everybody has to eat, all right? We have to make sure that the group is good, right? Because they believe that if the group is good, then everything else will be fine. Where us, they're like, hey, you make your own way, all right? So you got the collectivism or individualism, right? Power distance basically is a concept that says, based on where you're at in the hierarchy, right? How do you feel about how much power you have and how much influence you have from the person with the most power, sort of, all right? So the further away you feel from the power, the more disenfranchised you feel, the unhappier you are, right? The closer you feel to the power of decision making, the happier you are, the more you feel like you have some influence or some control over what's going on, right? So the power distance is a big deal because some countries we have high power distance, some countries have low power distance. Okay, United States we have high power distance, right? We feel basically like, hey, if no matter what level I'm at, I have some influence on the power. All right. Whereas maybe in China they might have low power distance, where if you're at the bottom, you're at the bottom, right? You're not gonna go talk to, if you're a farmer, you're not gonna go talk to a teacher, or you're not gonna go talk to about what the hell is that? Is that rad? Did you open the door? Yeah, we all. Why? When you open the door? Did you open the door? They were here and they were like this. Okay, yeah. Well, you just left it open, so we'll try to close it. Okay.
We're in the barn, leaving the doors open.
Well, that's a good example
Cultural.
of cultural
understanding.
differences, right? Cultural understanding, right? You open the door, it's not what you want, close it, right? You hear people talking, apparently there's a class going on, but you're so oblivious and so concerned about you, you just leave the door open, like, it's just like, okay, whatever, you're not home, all right? Close the door, all right? Have some respect for what's going on in the class. It's like, no, I don't know, maybe you don't know. You open the door, you just walk away, like, just check it out. It's just, either way, those things you have to get used to, right? So we just had a perfect example of that, yeah. It could be another thing. It could be social status, for all I know, wherever he's from, he could be the prince. And he's used to just opening doors and just whatever, right? So I'm not really sure if that's just cultural, because I know a lot of Indian or, folks from that area, and they don't do that. Right? They're very respectful. They open the door, oh, my bus, sorry, close the door.
Like the girl.
Like the young lady, yeah, exactly,
Like,
right?
oh, no,
Right,
wrong bus, sorry.
Close the door, right? So, anyway, so, that's power distance. Uncertainty avoidance, right? It talks about how well we do with ambiguity. Okay? How well we do with not knowing things but still can function, right? Some people, some societies, they have to know before they do anything. I need to know. Others are more like, hey, you've been told something, you just do it. You don't really ask any questions, right? We have a very, low, high, uncertainty avoidance in the United States, sort of, right? We are okay with ambiguity. I would say high, but it's definitely not low. All right, we're okay with ambiguity to a certain degree. Okay, China definitely ambiguity is like that's what they work with. That's what they know. All right, and so you'll find that in certain countries, like countries that are more socialist or communist and that kind of thing, their uncertainty avoidance is pretty high because they usually don't know anything. They're usually in the dark. Right, Russia, North Korea, they really don't know what's going on. But all they know is that the country's rich, prosperous, and everybody's doing well, right? When that's not the truth, right? We don't really know anything, right? And so, but they still continue to do whatever they do. They still continue to go to work. They still continue to, pay their taxes. They still continue to contribute in whatever way they can to society. Whereas here in the United States, yes, we have, a certain voice to a certain degree, but we usually want to know, like, why am I doing this? Like, I need an explanation. I need a story. I need something. You need to tell me something, right? Why? Especially as we've gone on in time, millennials, Gen Zs, Gen As, they usually have a lot of questions. You just can't tell them like do something and they, oh yeah, cool. No. I want to know why I'm doing it. Why are we doing this for? Why? What's the impact? What's the outcome? What are we looking for, right? And so that's one of the dimensions of culture, right? Quantity or quality of life, right? And so this is more. You see the dichotomy in this when you compare like the Middle East to United States, right? Or countries that have are still kind of when they look at gender and they say, okay, women and men are not equal per se, right? In the United States, we're pretty okay. Europe is pretty okay with women doing the same thing as men, right? Having the same say so, being able to hold positions and that kind of thing, right? And also, it talks about whether we are more of a feminine society or more of a masculine society, right? Now, if I think of a masculine society, what would you think of? What would come to mind as a masculine society? What characteristics?
Spartans,
Spartans, okay.
the Spartans.
Oh,
Spartan-
yeah, like
yeah.
individual.
Yeah. Yeah, an individual driven, right? But what else?
Yeah, the example that you gave, Middle East.
No, but what characteristics is that bold? Like, if I say this is a masculine society, what would you expect of the typical person?
Aggressiveness.
Aggressive, right? Assertive, right? Type A. What's that?
Goal-oriented.
Goal orientated, right? Very extrinsic in nature, right? Huh? Maybe conservative, yeah. So, someone who is not necessarily, the stereotype, men don't have any emotion, right? Men are very much pragmatic. Like, I did it because
Too much logic.
too much logic, exactly, right? Whereas if you have a feminine society, all right, it's more emotional, it's more, thoughtful, right? Right? You see like more things that are geared towards family, you see more things that are geared towards collectivism, right? Like individualism, right? You see that it's a softer society where the rules are more lenient, right? Oh, you murdered somebody. Yeah, okay, you understand it was a misunderstanding or there was, you were angry, okay, well, you don't get 5 years, right? In a masculine society, you probably, you gotta die, buddy. You killed, you gotta die, right? And so there's a difference in the two. And so all these different dimensions of culture get, kind of evaluated, and the countries get racked and stacked. They get, they each have their little thing, right? Where individual politics and certain quality of life, there's a few more, than that, but in general, these are the major ones, right? And understanding, okay, if the country is a certain way, how do I approach business with them, right? How do I deal with them from an HR capacity if they're collectivism, right? If you've ever done any business with Japan or a collective country, a country that believes in collectivism, right? There's a certain way to do things. United States, we're very straightforward, like, we're gonna deal or no deal, like, what we gonna do, right? Let's make it happen. In Japan, it's different, it's a process. You gotta go out, have dinner, relax, get to meet each other, talk. They take a couple days, then, okay, hey, we'll talk next meeting. Next meeting's a couple weeks. Come back, okay, then, let's talk a little bit, but I'm really trying to get to know you, right? That's kind of the difference, right? United States, like, hey, we're gonna meet for an hour, we're gonna wrap this deal up. Let's get this thing going, all right? A, B, C, D. Next week, I need an answer. Okay, I really don't care about your grandma, I don't care about your sister, I don't care about your wife, I don't care about your kids. I'm not really concerned about getting to know you, per se, right? It's not like that everywhere. And so this chart is very helpful, or this research that he did was very helpful in helping people understand when they go to different countries, especially as a huge entity, what does it take to make sure you are successful in these countries, right? And this is a lesson that, as an example of a company that didn't do it well, is Walmart, right? I may have talked about it before, right? Walmart's pretty huge here in the United States, okay? One of the biggest retail companies in the United States. And they're all right globally, right? But Walmart went to Canada and opened up a Walmart in Canada, right? With the same marketing strategy that they use in the United States, okay? How do you think that went?
Not what?
Didn't go good. Didn't go good. Because here in the United States, we're always looking for low cost, cheap, right? If I want to pay the cheapest price, but I want the highest quality. Okay? Because although I have the money, I don't want to pay you $10 something I can get for $8. You can give me $8, I'll take it. Okay? Because we're not worried about anything except for getting the product. It's not like that in Canada. Canada, right, is concerned about the perception, the way they look, right, to other people. Why would I, as a Canadian, go to a low discount store or low cost store when I can afford to go to the high discounts or the place where they sell it for more, right? I'm not poor, okay? That's all right. I make money, so I'm gonna go to Bloomingdale's. Even though they have the same thing at Walmart for $10 cheaper, I'm going to Bloomingdale's because I can afford it, and I don't want you to think I'm poor. Okay, and that's what happened to Walmart. Walmart went in with a low-cost strategy, low-cost marketing thing, right? Thinking it would work, right? Because they think everybody wants to save money. No, not the case. Okay, and so they failed miserably in Canada. They're gone. There's no Walmart in Canada. Okay, because
There are still, but
where?
my entire family works in Canada, in Walmart,
Where?
Toronto.
Is it just one Walmart?
No,
How many Walmarts are there?
I don't know.
A lot?
I only went twice. I don't know.
Okay, maybe they did, but I know that the first go, they failed miserably. They had to leave, right? And so, but are they big Walmarts, like regular size Walmarts, or they just like super Walmarts?
Super Walmart.
Okay.
Multiple tiers and
Okay, all right. So, okay, so you just said multiple tier super Walmart, right? Compared to the ones in the United States, yeah. Compared to the ones in the United States, what would you rate them? Like the Walmart tier,
yeah, they were, yes, I would say that.
they're more expensive,
Yeah,
right?
they have escalators, they have like.
Have you ever seen an escalator in Walmart?
Escalator for carts.
Right, they're like they do Target.
Yeah.
Target has it, right? But they changed their strategy. They went from the low cost thing to like, oh, we need to up it. We need to up the perception of Walmart. And not be-
McDonald's.
Say that again?
McDonald's here is very bad, but when you go to Europe,
Yeah.
McDonald's is very nice.
Yeah, it's,
McDonald's cafe, you can eat there.
yeah. For Walmart?
You can get the.
Yeah. But they changed the strategy, all right? You don't, have you
They're
ever,
not rolling back prices. of
No,
the
not rolling back
low-cost
prices.
leader.
you've never seen a multi-level Walmart in the United States. I don't think there is one. Is
I
there
think-
a
I think
multi-level
in
Walmart?
El Cajon, but it was just where they put it, it's two-story. The one out at the
Yeah,
mall,
yeah,
the one out at the mall where.
Oh,
they
yeah,
put
yeah,
it in
okay.
Gross mile.
Yeah, but
out
I
that
don't
way.
think that's a function of Walmart. I think it's a
No,
function
that's
of
a
the
function
mall.
of the mall.
Yeah, it's
no.
a function of the
Walmart
mall.
didn't build a
Right.
two-story there.
So that doesn't count, right? They purposely went and they failed. They're like, okay, what do we need to do? How do we need to rebrand this thing, right? And the important, the critical thing, I like to see the commercials, the marketing, right? Do they still market low cost? As a low cost company or low cost place to go, buy your stuff? Probably not, right? But they definitely are probably more upscale in Canada than they are here because their low cost strategy failed, right? Because they really didn't understand the cultural dimensions of Canada, right? And understanding that some of those folks, they don't want to be perceived as not having the money, right? So yeah, we're gonna put in escalators, we're gonna put in fancy stuff, right? If you go to the Walmart, I don't know, maybe they sell higher end stuff. Right? I don't know, maybe they sell Gucci there, I don't know. Louis Vuitton, I have no idea what they sell in Walmart in Canada. I'm sure it's the same thing, sort of, but at the same time, in the United States, no, not the same at all, right? And so understanding the dimensions and trying to figure out, okay, how do we go about making sure that we understand the customs, the values, the courtesies, the morals of the country, right? And understand how the consumer behaves is important prior to just jumping into a country and trying to figure out like, okay, we're just here to make money, right? We're just here to kind of just take advantage of the folks and bring our business to their particular country, especially in light of the fact that you can pretty much buy everything online now, right? And so having a physical entity is no longer the main thing anymore. Now it's about how do I have create a internet presence? How do I create a presence on social media, right? With particular things. So it's easier to tailor and easier to manage than if you try to, get a whole physical entity and pop it down into a country and try to get into the market that way. It's easier to change things, it's easier to, adjust stuff on the internet than it is to actually do it in a whole store, in a whole physical facility, right? And so that's kind of changed, but these things are still important in understanding how to approach the marketing, how to approach the HR, how to approach, just all kind of different things as far as benefits, just the different mindset and who can you send that's going to fit in to these places, right? As much as I would like to go to some of these countries, right? As a black man, some of these countries would not deal with me necessarily, right? As a white person or Caucasian person, they may not necessarily deal with you. As as a Mexican or as a different what you call ethnicity, they may not oh, you are from wherever. They're like, oh, we don't want to work with you, right? Or you're a female, we don't really look at that, right? Imagine the kind of issues that Kamala Harris has. Some of these countries that are more male dominated, that are masculine, and she's coming in as the second most powerful person in the United States government, right? But she's going into society where women are not necessarily considered, taken seriously. There's a certain mindset that goes with that, right? Think of the 1800s, think of the early times of our society in the United States, or just in general, right? Women stayed home. Women's opinion didn't matter. Okay, it just didn't. You stayed home, you became quiet, and you may have had some domain in your house, but once you left your house, if you were with your husband, you pretty much, any man could, say whatever they wanted to you and be like, hey, go get your husband, right? Because I don't talk to women. I don't do business with women, right? And that still happens nowadays, right? And so these are the things that, you have to think about before you start sending people overseas. You have to think about, okay, what's the culture like? Are they going to be accepting of that particular culture? Is there some bias or some prejudice against this particular race, ethnicity? Is there some bias or prejudice against this person's sexual orientation, right? Which is something that you have to consider now, because not all countries, accept different or diverse not gender, but sexual orientation, right? Some countries, they don't believe in gay and homosexuality, right?
Throw you off the roof.
They throw you off the roof, they'll kill you, whatever they're gonna do, right? They just don't, it doesn't exist, right? Iran, a couple of like maybe 5 or 6 years back, the what's his name? I mentioned, I can't remember his name, former prime minister, former president of Iran said, we don't have gay people in Iran. No such thing. Meanwhile, there's a whole group of gay people right behind them, right? But we don't have gay people in Iran. Like, doesn't make any sense, right? So if you send somebody who's gay or homosexual, right, for us, it's not a big deal in the United States. But if you send them overseas, you got to know where you're sending them, right? You may be sending them to their death. You may be sending them to a place where they're not going to thrive, they're not going to do well because they just don't fit the cultural norms over there, okay? Comments, questions, anything? No? All right, Hall's model, don't know as much about Hall, he or she is not necessarily talked about as much, but when you look at cultural and you look at more of the individual type characteristics of a country, right? So one thing that you'll notice, I noticed anyway, when I was in Europe, every time I go to Europe, there's always an issue with space, right? United States, we have a little bubble around us, okay? We don't necessarily want anybody in our bubble. You kind of stay a certain amount of feet away, arm distance, usually arm length distance away, we're good to go. It's not like that in Europe. You have to get real close and comfortable, like, to you, right? Which is something that you have to get used to, having somebody in your face, especially in France. For some reason, they just like to be right here in your face in Paris. I don't know why. In some countries like that, other countries, no eye contact, right? You go to Japan, you don't make eye contact with everybody. You go to the Middle East, you don't make eye contact with women, right? As a man, you don't touch them. You don't, there's just certain things you don't do. So you have to understand.
Don't touch with me.
No, you don't.
No, shake hands.
Yeah, you don't shake hands. It's just general general stuff, right? I know you know what you mean.
Right.
I know you're just playing around, but there's just certain things that go on where, here, if I went to go talk to Anna and I, shook her hand, no big deal, right? But if I was in the Middle East, they'd be like, that's somebody's wife, that's somebody's daughter, that's not your wife, that's not your daughter, there's no one related to you. You shouldn't be touching her in any shape, form, or fashion, right? And so you have to understand that, right? And so all these things, right, they have their own different levels of importance within the society, right? Time, okay? This is a big one, right? When I was in the Middle East and I had to get something done, and I tell the person that was the local that worked for me, like, hey, I need this here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. No problem, inshallah. Whenever I heard inshallah, I just was like, no, not inshallah. I need you to be here tomorrow at 9 o'clock, okay? Not God willing. All right, that's what inshallah means, God willing. So that's their paradigm, that's their perspective on time, right? As long as God lets me get to wherever I need to be, I'll be here. But if God says something else my way, like a traffic jam, an accident, I oversleep, yeah, just God. Okay, so understand that, right? So that's something I had to work through. That I had to understand that. Okay, if I want that person here at 9, guess what? I started telling them I need you here at 7:30, and then they would get there on time at 9. Okay, or the first time that they didn't show up in time, I would tell them, like, look, you need to be on time. Okay, I know you got your own time construct, but you're dealing with the U.S. government here, right? None of the people y'all working with, my boss doesn't believe in inshallah, okay? Nobody in DC believes in inshallah. So please be here on time, right? And you get the ones that are smart, the business people, and they understand, okay, I need to be on time, right? But this is definitely something that is very relevant in a lot of societies, right? Time is not to be controlled. Okay, I would do my best to be here on time, but if something comes in my way, then you can't be mad at me. Because I had no control of it. It just happened. All right? Something. We talked about space, okay? Material goods. Huge difference in how we view material goods and how other countries view material goods. Okay? And that's really a driving force for a lot of things, right? Our pursuit of material things is what drives a lot of people, right? Most people, if you ask them why they go to school, it's so they can make money, right? They found something they're kind of interested in, but they're really looking at the money aspect, right? Because you know what? I want a big house. I want a nice car. I want those fancy clothes I saw. I want those nice shoes. I want to go on trips, right? Those are material goods. Whereas other countries, they're not necessarily worried about that. What they're worried about is just having shelter, security, food, right? Right? All the important thing on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. As long as I got food, security, and shelter, then I can start thinking about other things, right? But the material good aspect of, hey, this is very prevalent, a very huge trend, not trend, but a very huge thing in our society, a capitalistic society, right? Because we're all chasing after this thing, right? This whatever it is, right? But at the end of the day, it all boils down to, it's a chair, right? This chair is the same chair as the other chair, right? Is it well made? Is it the best material? Maybe not, right? Could I get a fancier chair? Sure, I could pay a lot more money for a better chair, right? Just like a car, right? I can get a Hyundai or Kia, or I can get a Mercedes, or I can get a Lamborghini, right? But how do I get those things? I got the money for it, right? Because the work that goes into each one at each level requires more effort, right? And so in order to compensate those folks for that effort that they're putting in into higher value product, they have to be compensated in some way, right? It's not like back in the day, people bartered and that kind of thing, traded services, right? We don't do that. So material goods and how we value material goods is important. Here in the United States, high value on material goods. I would say Europe, value on material goods, but there's also a high value on family and friendship and spending time doing things, experiencing stuff with the people that you care about, right? Not that we don't have that in the United States, because we do, but we do have a higher instance of, hey, my pursuit of the big house, the car, the money, the power, supersedes in many instances my family. Okay, we see it all the time. People rob their own mother. People kill their brother. All right. People at school with their friends. All right, for some money. Okay, all the time. Right. So the pursuit of material goods has an impact on how we kind of approach things. Right. What's important to us. Right. And then in the day, as long as I'm healthy, right, most people are okay, right? As long as I have my health and I have shelter and I can eat and I can kind of do the things I want to do, most folks are fine, right? But we do have this urge or this desire to get those bigger things because we want to kind of show off. We want to be, hey, I got the big house, you have the little house, and I'm better than you, whatever the case may be. Money doesn't make anybody better than anyone else, right? And then the day, unfortunately, I had to tell you that, right? That's not the case, right? Importance of friendships, okay? Another thing that is different in all different kinds of countries, right? Friendships in some countries are, paramount, and loyalty is like the most important thing. Friendships in other countries, they're just that. They're like alliances. Like you make as many friends as you probably can because you may be able to get something from them. All right. So that's always an important aspect of how you look at the culture. And if you make a friend in a particular country or a particular place, is that a friend for life? Or is that just an associate that you were trying to get something from, right? And so people will look at that. And that's why a lot of people, when they come to the United States, they meet people, they don't know any better. I met such and such. It's like a nice guy. He gave me this much money. He fed me. Gave me a place to stay. Guess what? Don't worry. They're gonna get all their money back because they're gonna pimp you out here in a minute. Okay, you're gonna be a prostitute. You don't see it coming, but that's what's happening, right? That's kind of like the United States. People taking advantage of it. Where if you go to other countries where you meet somebody, they're like, hey, let me help you out. I'll give you this thing. But you're skeptical. As an American, when I go to other countries and try to help me, I'm real skeptical because I have thinking an American mindset. All right. But when I go to other countries and it's like, let me help you, like, what do you want? What do you want from me? Okay. I'm gonna be terrible. You're not gonna make any money from me. Okay, nobody's gonna want to date me. All right. So leave me alone. All right. So you have to kind of step back and say, you know what? This person is actually trying to be a friend, trying to be helpful because that's valuable in their culture, right? That's important for them, right? Whether or not, it's hard to make friends or there's so many people that, you just don't really build relationships well, right? When you have too many people, everybody's just a number, sort of, right? And you really don't trust a lot of people. So when you have a friend, then, that might be something that's important to them in another place, right? United States, we have friendships, but may not be as important. And agreements. How do we necessarily adhere to the contracts or the things that we say we're going to do, as compared to, just kind of saying, you know what, I don't feel like doing it anymore. Okay, is your word good enough? Is the word is all it takes, right? Do we need to have something written in black and white? Right? Here in the United States, we have a lot of contracts, right? If you make a deal with somebody, it's in black and white, right? Let's put this on paper because we know that disputes happen, people see things differently, and so it doesn't always work out the way you think it's gonna work out. Some countries, if you shake someone's hand, that's it. It's a done deal.
In China, it's, if you are invited for dinner, it means there is an agreement.
Right, there's an agreement, right? If you, sometimes if you have a drink with them and they say, hey, we're drinking, that means the deal's done. We've agreed, right? We agreed in principle for the most part. We'll get to the details later, but agreed in principle that this is gonna happen, right? And so agreements are a very much important aspect of how do we, go about doing business with countries. If that's the way they do business and I go to someone's house for dinner or I'm having a drink with someone and we've been talking business, but we haven't really firmed anything up in my mind. But they like, yeah, let's have a drink, and boom, you just close the deal. You're like, wait a minute, no, that's not what I did. I was having a drink. I wasn't trying to close any deals because we haven't really talked details yet. No, we talked enough. This is good. We'll be all right, okay? And you'll find that in different countries. But you have to have somebody who understands that, right? Who can take that, right, and understand the culture. The main thing about getting, overseas and dealing with different countries is understanding the customs, understanding the courtesies, understanding, how the people live and what's important to them and what's not important, how they do business, and not to necessarily try to go in and change it. You have to adapt to it. You have to integrate it into your own particular way of doing things because you're not going to fight the system. You're not going to fight the way they do things because they've been doing it for 100 years.
Yeah, in some countries, like written contracts,
Mhm.
doesn't have any value.
Yeah, no value at all. They'll look at it and they'll tear it up. Like, no, doesn't mean anything. You said this. Well, another contract says this. That's what you said this, right? And so it all depends on society. It depends on what it is, right? But you have to understand that, right? Because you can get your company and yourself in a lot of problems, right? Because the laws are on that person's side, right? When things get adjudicated, not going to get adjudicated based in the United States. They'll get adjudicated on, on the global level. It's a whole entity.
Local law, well, the Hague, but.
Yeah, the Hague, but there's another.
But it's really off the local.
Yeah, off the
whatever
local, yeah.
law,
Yeah, so
Post nation.
you have to understand that and know that, okay, I need to have a clear understanding of what's going on. there's an instance that, we talk about all the time in, business class. Where, they do an analysis on Richard Nixon. Right, Richard Nixon was, former president, right, back in the '70s, Watergate and all that stuff, you're familiar with all that, but either way, he was a former president, right? He got impeached, like Donald Trump did, but he actually got booted out, he actually left, he resigned, right? Richard Nixon went to Vietnam, right? This is right during the Vietnam War, kind of after, when things were still kind of dicey with them, but we were starting to build relations back up with them, right? And he was on this little PR tour, right? Going through all these villages and stuff like that. And then he gave them, if you know anything about Richard Nixon, his thing was, what he did this all the time. Yeah, this thing, right? V for victory. This was his thing. V for victory, right? Some of us look at it, we think peace, right? V for victory. Well, in Vietnam, it means F you. In Vietnamese, it means F you. When they see this, you're cursing at them, basically, right? He didn't know that. No one in his staff told him that. No one told him, hey, don't do this because you're cursing at them. So he started doing this, and then the people they started like throwing stuff. They started getting upset. They getting riled up, and he didn't understand why. It wasn't until after that they kind of rushed him out of there. It was like, we got to get out of here. And he's like, what happened? Everything was going great. And then somebody was like, you did this. You kept doing this. Say, yeah, it's V for victory. No, that's a curse word here. You're cursing them out. Like, you know, and these are regular villagers. They're not like super sophisticated, highly educated folks. These are just folks in Vietnam. They're farmers and, you know, that kind of thing. And they just came out to see a U.S. president, an American in general, right? And so he didn't have an understanding of the cultural dynamics, which caused them issues, right? In an already strained relationship, now you're going around cursing the people, right? And so it doesn't only, insult the people right then and there, but it shows the people in the society and the government and the leaders there in Vietnam that he doesn't care. Because he didn't do his due diligence. He didn't do his homework. You're the president of the United States. You're coming to a foreign country. You're trying to tell me no one told you that something that you do all the time is not something that is acceptable here, right? That shows a lack of caring. That shows a lack of understanding, wanting to understand the culture, right? So why should I work with you? If you won't take the time to understand who we are and what we do, I don't want to work with you. I don't want peace, right? Although they say, the United States sort of won the Vietnam War, we all know we didn't. Okay? It was not pretty, right? We'll call it a stalemate. We'll call it even at the end of the day, right? But the Vietnam War was not something that went well for the United States. Trying to repair the relationship has taken years, right? And that didn't help, right? That this whole thing of not understanding the culture, not understanding the ramifications of, understanding the people, the society, right? It just wasn't good for him when he came, especially when he came back to the United States, because now he looks like the bigger idiot, right? You're the president, you don't know that. No one in your staff is involved in telling you to do that. Okay? What time is it?
6:44.
6:44. All right. Break or keep going? All right, 5-minute break. You got to wait too long to answer. 5-minute break. Okay. 5-minute break, Zoom. Come back. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what the marketing campaign is in Canada.
Just look up Canadian, Walmart
Yeah.
commercials.
I'd be interested. Because I know for sure they crumble when they first went in there.
Two of my cousins and one of my aunt.
Work there? Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, they definitely had to change something because that strategy that works in the United States didn't work at all. At all. That's good to know though. I'm glad that they, but that's a good case study to see how much they changed, right? To understand like, hey, you need to change for the society. It's like McDonald's, Burger King, all the fast food, KFC, all the fast food places, they got it. They know when they go to different countries, we can't serve certain things, right? We have to make the menu commensurate to the society, to the local area, right? And make sure that, hey, you can't have hamburgers in India, right? You can't have pork in Muslim countries. You can't have, different things, right? In Hawaii, even in Hawaii, they have local stuff. They have masubi, they have, poi, they got rice instead of certain French fries. They have French fries, but they have rice also as an option. So you have to understand those things. And I don't think Walmart, they thought they was just gonna walk in and be like, hey, here it is, we're greening products and they're cheap. So then it didn't work well, but I'm glad to see that they did adjust. And if you say there's a lot of them, right? Is it mostly on the east side, East Coast or West Coast?
I will leave into Toronto, east side.
Oh, okay. Well, that's another thing too, geographically speaking, Toronto is basically New York.
Yes.
Yeah, right? And so that might play a role in it also. That's so close to the States that a lot of folks just go back and forth and they're kind of used to that mentality. But I think if you go further further west into the belly of Canada, further west and north, you'll find that the folks they had that mentality. We ain't try we're not poor. We can afford this stuff. So yeah. That's cool. Learn something every day. Thank you.
They're different than what's here.
Yeah.
They watch they're like that was some older lady who gardens and it was like, it was good quality at a good value.
Right, yeah,
Their prices are gonna, one was a rollback on toys, but it was top quality.
top
toys
quality for you at an affordable price.
with rollback prices. So it's just a little different of
It's a little different.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
how they do it. Pull the top plug.
Yeah, actually, the first part.
I just missed the commercials in Japan from back in the
Yeah, pretty
early
good.
nineties.
Mhm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger
Yeah,
the high pitched
Depends
voice.
on your.
in Japan, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's commercial and his voice is like super high pitched. It's hilarious. Like absolutely hilarious.
I think this is, for all the time. Because mostly they use this format for anything.
Because I don't wanna be feeling like I would make. It's not like. But I feel like. Professor, I'm gonna do, teach another session. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you are the whole year.
Yeah, I teach the
So
whole
why
year.
not some teachers that just don't.
Yeah, don't teach the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I pretty much teach I haven't taken a session off in a while, like 4 or 5 years now. So I teach year round, you know.
You've done Benjamin for.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, let's say Benjamin, but
Jackson's name?
I don't know, more like Lincoln's. Yeah.
Washington's.
Washington's, yeah. We won't make any money teaching that for sure.
Well, you know, residency home.
I don't know. I sometimes I like to be sitting home. At least
I'm
I'm,
trying to be positive.
I know you are. I know. I appreciate it. But sometimes sitting at home is better than than teaching. It's just sometimes it's not enough. Like it's better just stay at home than come.
It's not worth it.
Not here, but some things. Like I'd rather stay at home than go make $10 an hour. Like no, I stay home. I do other things with my time. But this has other things to it. You got you guys, and I get to hear about different stuff, and I get to learn too. So it's fun.
You walk into being professor.
What do you mean by working towards it?
You're online.
I would like to be.
Oh no. You talking about like a publishing? No, and I mean, at the end of the day, but this school we don't offer tenure or anything like that, right? So it doesn't matter. And then really, yeah, for me to be, if I was more serious about the profession as far as the industry and wanting to be recognized in the industry as like a professor or a recognized scholar, academic, yeah, I have to publish. But I don't care about that. I don't care. I know I work for my doctorate just like everybody else. And there's just nothing interesting that, to me, that I want to write about. A lot of folks, they'll go do research in things that they're not interested in, but just do it because they want to be published, right? Because they understand that's what it takes to get to that level, right? To teach at Harvard and those schools, you have to be published. I don't really care about teaching at Harvard. Oh yeah, like at the end of the day, just because you publish a paper doesn't really mean anything to me. I mean, the research is important and it's good because you're getting valuable insight, but I really got my doctorate for myself. It's something I always wanted, and I just happened to stumble into teaching. I didn't want to teach. I didn't want to teach. They just asked me to teach one day. Someone I knew was like, "Hey, I work in a Toyota," and someone asked me, "You mind teaching the class?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll teach the stats class." And I turned to something else, and then another prison, and someone else saw me teaching a class. And they asked me to, I didn't teach, this is not the first school I taught at. This first school I taught at was in San Marcos.
I don't know.
Yeah. And then someone that taught here saw me teaching on San Marcos and asked me if I wouldn't mind coming here and teach. I was like, cool, yeah, I'll come here and teach. So, yeah, at one point I was teaching 3 different schools.
They keep trying to recruit me back in the future.
Yeah, yeah, we're looking for, you know, good instructors, you know, and then, what I found is
It's
just,
a balancing act.
yeah, it's a balancing
for
act.
me.
Oh, for you?
It would be a balancing act because of
Oh, the
taking
travel.
classes, well.
Oh, the
that's
travel,
not-
yeah, taking
but
classes and then,
taking classes and teaching
Yeah.
classes, because like I only have to worry about me and if I
Right.
put a team on a group,
right,
you know, that's it. But if I have, 20 students that I'm trying to do my work and
right, the grade.
grade and do all that, because it takes a lot, like, if you never taught a college class,
Yeah.
it takes a lot to grade.
Mm-hmm,
Like, it's not a, I open up your work and 2 seconds later,
yeah,
it's done.
yeah, it's,
I think teaching for you is easier because by experience, I can see
yeah,
some instructors, they just come, okay, read the course,
Right.
but they don't explain anything.
yeah,
I think they don't have that
Yeah, experience.
capacity to
Right.
talk.
and yeah, they don't have
And
any.
for you, it's easier, so you kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, most of the things I talk about, try to relate to the content is stuff I've been through. Stuff I've dealt with, over the course of working and dealing with people. And,
Exactly, the experience.
yeah. And I think that's most folks, say Chris has taught, same thing, you guys been in the workforce before. So you have a certain experience that you bring to the classroom
Yeah, exactly.
that there's no book that's gonna be able to tell you that.
Yeah, the instructors who are the ones who are researchers, they've never worked.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, when I took a class, my first master's class I did at Gonzaga, and then I left because the teacher was completely absent from the whole class. The book we used by UCOL had 0 practical experience in anything, only research.
Yeah. But all his research is very widely used.
It is very widely used, but
Yeah.
there was no practical experience of any, he had never worked other than research.
Yeah. They're just lifelong scientists, they're just trying to, figure things out, understand things, but they never actually try to apply them or they, a lot of them, they never manage anybody. They never been a leader of anything, right? And so there's situations where when you're a leader, when you're in the midst of business that the book can never tell you that. There's a lot of situations that occur that I'd never seen in the book before, right? And you have to,
Research won't give you the
right, this is
answer.
gonna give you the answer. It's just one of those things. So it does make it easier for me. And you also have to be open to listening and learning from the students, from other people. You can't think you're right all the time, right? Because you're not, right? Even in the Walmart thing, like he was like, oh, Walmart thing, I didn't keep up with it after I saw it. I didn't keep up with it anymore. So how would I necessarily know, right? But it definitely is something that happened. But what happened after, right? Oh, okay, that's interesting. Chris is bringing something up like he did a couple weeks ago with the gender pay thing, right? And examining like the deeper levels of, okay, what really is the pay disparity here? What is it really a pay disparity, or is it just a few more things we need to look at to figure out? There's really not a pay disparity, just, people get paid differently in different jobs.
That's what is the 75% of statistics are made up, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? So you have to understand that, but, all in all, no.
I want to ask you, because you mentioned that you had a big experience with Toyota.
Mhm.
Do you think at that time, did you feel like you were working for an American company or Japanese? Did you feel like the Japanese culture on the place? Even you were working in the US.
Honestly, the 100%, probably the one place I worked at that I felt like I was working for the host country. Like it's very Japanese. Yeah, very Japanese. Not in the sense of the aesthetics, but the way we approach work, the way they, the commitment to the work staff, the commitment to quality is very Japanese. Very Japanese. So I felt that in Toyota. They just treated you like you were in Japan. Because Toyota had a very strict policy that yes, they had a North American or South American CEO, but there was always a Japanese person who was right there working with his, their representative, you know, who had the overriding power over the CEO. But because they were getting their orders from headquarters from them. So, you know, the mindset, it didn't matter like where you were from. I had my boss, one of my bosses in Toyota was Indian, but you would think he was Japanese. You know, you think everybody was Japanese just because it's the way we work, right? The mindset and policies and the things that the way they approach everything was just Japanese, right? When I worked for Wells Fargo, I knew that was an American company. Right? It's different. Okay, so let's talk about some approaches to sending employees abroad, right? So administrative, tactical, and strategic approach, right? All different. Administrative, we're talking about more, you know, paperwork and more, you know, having them not necessarily in the sense where they are physically there, but they're administratively attached to a particular foreign entity, right? So if there's business going on in Japan or Russia or Germany, whatever, they will call this person and be like, hey, you know, this is your thing, this is your account, you need to take care of it, right? Tactically speaking, right? Yes, there's paperwork in it, but you probably have somebody there that's kind of, hey, there's some issues, we can't handle it paperwork wise, you need to go over there and put your hands on it. Okay, you need to be on the ground, right? When you're tactical, you're pretty much where the rubber meets the road, and you are involved in, you know, kind of what's going on. Are there situations where that can be handled with paperwork or just administratively? Absolutely. But there are also some situations where you have to be there face to face to kind of see what's going on. Usually quality assurance issues, right? When you do production, operations management, it requires someone to be there in many instances to make sure, like, understand, are we meeting our daily goals? Are we meeting our aggregate goals? What's the quality looks like? Why are we having so many defects? What's wrong with the equipment? What's wrong with the workforce? Like all these issues that sometimes you just can't fix or really address administratively. We need somebody there on the ground that you can kind of send and kind of can see, like, okay, and report back as to what's going on in a way that you understand it, all right? And then you got kind of the strategic approach where you in the support and coordination of, you know, kind of different resources depending on the region where you're at, right? So I can tap into, let's just say, Singapore or something like that, right? I'm in Singapore. You know, if I'm in Singapore, I usually can rely on Malaysia. I can usually rely on the surrounding countries to help me out. So if I have someone who's in Singapore, I have an issue in Singapore, but I have somebody actually in Malaysia, I could always say, hey, Malaysia, can you go check that problem out in Singapore? Or can you take care of this issue for me in Singapore? We don't have anybody there physically. We try to take care of it in different ways, but we need somebody to kind of go there. So you have support, but not directly within that particular country per se, right? But it's close enough to where they can kind of reach out and go, okay, I can go take care of that for you, right? Without you having a necessary physical presence in every particular place. Because it's expensive, it's time consuming. It's difficult because you have to find somebody, you know, contrary to popular belief, not all countries, you know, not everyone speaks English, and neither do they want to speak English in many instances now, right? So you have to find somebody who speaks the language, understands the culture, right, and be able to deal with, even if it's regional, right? I don't need somebody, if I have an issue in Germany, I don't need somebody that's in Germany to necessarily go take care of it. Maybe they're in Italy, maybe they're in France, maybe they're in Belgium. They understand the nuance of Europe, right? They understand the dynamic of Europe. So that's enough. I don't need to do any more than that. So I can send them and they're gonna kind of take care of certain things, right? So it depends on, you know, kind of like what's going on, you know, whether or not, you know, you want to have a very physical, very obvious presence, or you kind of want to work in the background and have someone there who someone can reach out to for issues, but not necessarily be hovering sort of over them, or they have an understanding like, look, you have support, but it's just not directly here, but you don't have to come over back to the United States. Reach out to Singapore, reach out to Malaysia, reach out to whatever, they'll help you if you have a regional problem, if you have an issue that, requires some assistance, but you don't wanna come back to the United States. You wanna come back to headquarters, you just wanna, we have some resources to help you out locally, right? But not necessarily right in the vicinity, right? So there's different ways in which people get assigned. Let's see. So global assignment right here, we kind of talked about some of these, but let me see, this is one other one. This one right here, okay, I think it's really important in the, 4 and 5, right? Understanding, I should do 4 and 5. Understanding one, again, is the person, a good fit for the job, right? What they're gonna be doing, and understanding that, not everybody can go in a situation, and everyone is not built for overseas assignments, right? This is why it's not difficult, but they're very selective on, when you look at ambassadors, right? Secretary of State and that whole cadre of folks, right? Folks that are ambassadors and delegates and those kind of folks, they're different type of people, right? They're listeners, they're very much, trying to learn and absorb. They're very much politicians, right? They're diplomats, right? They're negotiators. They will sit down, they'll talk to you and kind of figure out, okay, like, what is it that you're looking for, right? Not necessarily, this is what we have and this is what we're gonna give you. Like, no, what are you looking for? And you have to have that mentality. But you have to be equipped with people, in a way that they are using the particular skill set that are inherent to them and leverage those skill sets in order to get their job done. And not everyone is a good communicator. Not everyone is compassionate. Not everyone has empathy. Not everyone is really open to really understanding the plight of another culture, of another set of group of folks, right? So if I'm in your country as a business, your problems are my problems, right? If you don't have any water, right, and I have a business there, I need to take care of it. How do I rectify the situation, all right? And there's a lot of countries now that are facing water insecurity. Matter of fact, in Mexico, there is, I can't remember the city, they're about to run out of water. They're literally about to run out of water. And then last year, or 2 years ago, 2 years ago, right? One of the biggest cities in the world ran out of water. Anybody know what city that is? Where?
Mexico City.
No. Mexico City is running, they're about to run out of water now, close to it, one of the cities next to it, but no. Cape Town in South Africa, they ran out of water. Now imagine, I've never been to Cape Town, but I know Cape Town is a pretty big city in South Africa, and they ran out of water. Literally just ran out of water.
Like the drinkable water or just like?
Water in general, just no water, no drinking water, no water to do anything. No potable water, just no water. Okay? So I'm saying that to say that when you are assigning someone to a particular place for a foreign assignment, the person has to be able to deal with those kind of issues, right? What is going on in the particular region that you're in that, you have to try to help and assess and help the host country, because that has an impact on your operations. It's an impact on what you're doing as an organization, right? Because if you don't have water, for the most part, everything's gonna fail. The last thing people are worried about is buying anything if there's no water. They're worried about buying water, right? Aside from that, then nothing is important because you really can't do anything else without water. Can't cook, can't bathe, can't really sustain
Toilet
life.
services go away.
Yeah, you can live without food for a long time. You can't live without water.
3 days.
3 days, yeah, give or take. All right, you have water, and you're stuck somewhere, you'll be good for a long time without food.
I can give you, a personal, like an example, but on a personal level, not like, when I was in China, I used to smoke because everybody smoked.
Yeah, everybody's smoking China.
When I came to California, I wasn't a big problem because I used to smoke.
All right, smoking, right?
So I had to really to make a lot of efforts to,
Did not, yeah.
I spent like, sleepless nights,
Mm-hmm.
like two months to get, because I was like,
Get out your system, yeah,
Yeah.
Lord. Yeah, China, definitely, they smoke like crazy. I think Europe, they smoke like crazy. Yeah, UK smoke like chimneys.
Japan back in '92, they had cigarettes with a skull and a black box of cigarettes, the skull and crossbones on it.
Yeah,
Mexico,
yeah, they, United States were a little more, tougher on smoking, all right, because there's the ramifications, health-wise. But there's a reason why, if you look at, this is another conversation, but they smoke in China a lot, but they don't seem to die. They don't seem to get the same ailments as we do here, right? From smoking. And why is that?
Probably not the additives that.
Right, they don't process it the same way.
400 additives in a US cigarette.
Yeah, they don't process it the same way. They don't process it just tobacco. That's all it is. It's cigarettes is just tobacco, right? Huh?
Here is not very good.
No, it's not good because they process it, they put it through so many things because they're trying to get the most out of it, right? Say that again?
Put sugar everywhere.
Yeah, everything is processed in the United States. Yeah, doesn't taste unnatural. They put sugar in it because that is what we like in the United States, right? That's why when you go to different countries and you have, like my friend went to Mexico one time. She ordered a burrito, and then the person looked at it like,
What's a burrito?
"What's a burrito?" There's no such thing as burritos in Mexico. They don't. That's not a thing in Mexico. Burritos are American-made thing. They have burritos, but that's just because United States Americans go there and they eat burritos, right? Anybody been to Hawaii here before? Right? Mai Tai. Anybody have Mai Tai before? No? Well, Mai Tai is a drink you get, it's
Rum drink.
well, it's a rum drink. It's, basically people associated with Hawaii. It's not a Hawaiian drink. Some American dude made it up because it was a good marketing thing. And now everybody thinks Mai Tais are Hawaiian. They're not, right? Burritos are not, there's no such thing. It's lasagna. When you go to Italy, go find lasagna if you want. Look, ask for lasagna. See how hard it is to find lasagna. You have to go to certain regions of the country to find certain foods, right? They don't have those things, right? So everything is kind of here in the United States. We take stuff and we make it our own, right? Kind of change it up, okay? So when you get over to other countries, when you get the food, it's not the same. The food in Europe is not the same as it is here. They don't process it. People buy food on a daily. They go shopping on a daily basis to cook dinner, all right? To do things. Here in the United States, we pack the refrigerator, we freeze everything, and we pull it out when we need it, and we're good to go.
Yeah, for me, I care about the social when I go to the supermarket. or
Mhm.
go to
Yeah, so,
Starbucks.
right. This is why the farmer's market's such a big deal in the United States, right? It's not a big deal in other countries, the farmer's market, it's just the market.
Our markets here, I went to the farmer's market in Siena.
Yeah,
Yeah, what we have here just pales in comparison.
absolutely, yeah,
Like even the one in Little Italy
yeah,
is a joke.
trash, yeah,
It's a joke compared to.
yeah. I mean, but we love it, right? We love it because we get all our organic stuff, right? We get all our free range stuff at the farmer's market.
Stuff.
Right. So again, understanding the culture, understanding what's going on, acclimating to the society, and then in addition, if you take your family, right, getting them to acclimate, right? Send your kids to school, right? Most kids, when they go to school overseas, they go to American schools. They go to schools that, speak English and are based in, American culture. But sometimes they go to schools that are in the regular public domain.
Another difference, for example, if you want to open a company in Asia,
Mhm.
you have to think about to lodge your staff. It's not like in the US, I give you salary after that. It's no problem.
Did you say that again?
You have to you have to rent or build a dormitory.
Oh, yeah, exactly, right, you have to house them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you cannot give them a salary, okay.
Right, that's that, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's your problem.
It's a whole thing, like, you have to house them, You have to pay them, you have to feed them, you gotta take it, everything, it's like a bundle, sort of like a big package. Right? Basically, they're like a kid or like somebody is their dependent, right?
Even sometimes I interview like candidates.
Mhm.
I say, what's your motivation? Why you wanna work with us? He said, just give me some,
Someplace to live.
yeah, some place to live, give me, yeah, okay.
Good, yeah, I mean, but again, it goes back to that culture, right? Things are simple. When you really think about it, things are simple. What do you want? I don't wanna be hungry. I wanna have some place to go lay down, feel safe, I can sleep at night, right? And I just wanna feel secure, right? And yeah, once in a while, when I wanna go do something, I can do it. It doesn't, going someplace and going to the beach, or it shouldn't cost me $1,000 because somebody came and said, oh, this is the resort here, and you need to pay to access the beach here. Right? This beach was here before any of us, was free. You just put a building here now you have to pay you to go to your building to get to the beach. Right? And so that most countries is not like that. It's just like, hey, it's the beach, it's for everybody. And so that's just the way it is. That's why, certain countries like the United States, water is free for the most, well, not necessarily free, but you don't directly pay for water per se, except if you have your own home and you kind of want water a different way. But usually if you turn the tap on, water comes out. Okay? It's not like that in every country. Water doesn't come out. Right? You turn the tap on, it's nothing. You have to go get the water with your bucket or whatever it is. You bring it back home, and that's just the way it is, right? But and then natural resources are typically not seen as something that people monopolize in other countries, right?
In some culture, water means like people would go and look for water. It's the place where to share the news. Like,
Yeah, sharing news, share experiences, people go to the beach and just, relax and stuff like that. And not that to say we don't have free beaches and public access beaches, we do, but the fact that we do have public access beaches as compared to private beaches, right? Because someone's house is there, that means they own the beach that's by their house. That doesn't always fly. It flies here, which is fine, right? That's how we can, make people pay millions of dollars for a house because it's on the beach by the water, right? But other countries, they don't play all that. It's like, no, the beach is for everybody. Okay. All right, so looking at some how you assign people and that kind of thing, right? So depending on how you decide you want to get into the global market, right? Like I said, there's different ways to do it: joint venture, export, subcontract, subsidiary. So just different ways of getting into a foreign market, right? But then once you get into the foreign market, all these other factors here, right? Local culture, national culture, corporate culture, you got to really think about those things and how do they all balance out and how do they contribute to, how you're gonna go into the country and also how you're gonna handle some of the staff and manpower issues, right? Some of the HR issues, right? Because these things have a huge impact on whether or not I decide I'm gonna have a physical entity there, right? How hard is it to actually get a building in Russia, right? How hard is it for me to have an embassy, right? If you know, in the United States, we have embassies all over the world, but there's some countries we don't have anything, not one brick, right? And that's on purpose. Because those countries are like, no, you're not gonna come here and set up shop, right? Even the countries that we have embassies in, they want us to leave, right? In most cases, they don't want us there, right? But you have to figure out like which one of these makes sense for you, right? In conjunction with the local culture, the national culture, the corporate culture, right? And then expect issues in all these areas, right? Expect, how do we make sure that the person that we're sending, right, we give them a proper orientation, right? We select the right person. And then not the most important part, but one of the important parts that gets overlooked is the repatriation, right? When it's time for you to come back, right? Most people, when it's time for them to come back, they don't get anything. It's time for you to come back, you come back, right? You come back to a different place, right? You're coming back to a place that you used to know, but it's changed, right? You've been living in a different society, right? So you come back and now you got to get used again to 9 to 5. You got to get used to, certain things. And we don't necessarily do a good job in repatriating people back into the country, right? Back into the United States or American way of doing working, right? And so that's an important aspect, right? Performance management, probably one of the areas where it's just really, really gray and sketchy, okay? In figuring out if I send you overseas, who's who's your boss, right? Who's writing your evaluations? Is it me, the person that's in the United States, or is that person that the host country, company that you work in, right? Is that person that's there, is that your boss, right? And you understand, like, I have to meet this person's requirements, but I also have to meet this person's requirement because I'm eventually gonna go back home, all right? But my immediate concern is like what this person thinks of me, because if this person's the one that's writing my eval that's getting sent to this person, then I'm really concerned about this person. But a lot of times there's a confusion about who is writing the evals, who's doing the evaluation, right? And so you really want the evaluation to be as close to the person as possible, right? The evaluator, I should say, right? I don't want to be evaluating someone, I'm in the United States and they're in Japan. I don't see them every day. I really don't know, right? I need the person who's local to just kind of do the evaluation, right? But they may have a totally different way of evaluating people than it is that you're used to in the United States, right? And so I have to kind of figure that out, right? How do I deal with that? Can I adjust to, my way of doing work to this person's particular style, right? And then come back and then have to readjust to the way I'm used to doing it or the way that it's done here in the United States.
Like my Chinese boss, I always ask him to evaluate me. He said, "Well, you are good."
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's
like-
always good.
it's always good, yeah. It's always
They will
good.
never give you like a fair evaluation.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's different in every country. In some countries, they don't really do evaluations. They just kind of like, okay, it's all good. You're doing a good job or you're doing a bad job. It's either you get fired or you don't. That's the evaluations in places, right? So it's different. But these HR issues, right? These are things that you will definitely be dealing with if you happen to delve and end up as a global HR manager or someone who's in charge of a particular department, and you have to figure out, okay, who do I send to certain assignments, right? Where do I send them, and for how long, and those kind of things, right? Most companies at this day and age have a really well-established protocol for sending people overseas. But at the same time, you got to be careful about the politics and some of the things that go on, and you send a person that is not necessarily that. One of the mistakes that people make when they're selecting people to go overseas is that your work persona is different from your personal persona, right? When you're at work, you behave one way, but when you leave work and you go home, you behave in a different manner, okay? And so you may have someone at work who's very organized, very, good at decision making in their professional life, but their personal life, they're terrible. Okay? Like someone who is great at work and their husband is terrible. Their partner choices are horrible, right? Their lifestyle, they leave work, they've been working real hard, the boss thinks they're fantastic, and after the work, they're going straight to the bar and they're getting drunk till midnight, 1 o'clock, and they're getting DUIs, but then they come to work the next day. Okay? They come to work the next day. Their personal life is not the same as their professional life. So if you have to be able to see both sides of the person before you send them off. Because now if I send you someplace professionally, you're great. But then once you work, you're in, all the nonsense, right? Anybody here been to Bangkok before? Been to Thailand, all right, in Philippines, great places to party, right? And if you're not careful, you can get caught up very quickly in a lot of the stuff going on there, right? You got money in your pocket, it's dirt cheap, right? And anything you want, you can get, right? And so you have to be careful about who you send and making sure that they have some discipline, right? And that their professional life is just as important to them as their personal life, right? And that they can control both in a manner that is not going to get them arrested.
Even in those categories, your boss, the local boss may, encourage you to.
Right, exactly, yeah, because they want you to be immersed in the local community, right? And you want that, you want to immerse yourself in the local community, but you have to do it in a way that is not detrimental to, your professional career, or is not necessarily, in reinforcing a stereotype, right? When you go over there, and it just understand like, hey, I will slowly integrate into, having fun and doing all those things, but I have to control myself. I can't just indulge in everything that I used to in the United States, because I'm from the United States. I understand the United States, right? I understand what I can get away with, what I can't get away with. When I go foreign, country or someplace else for work, there's a presentation or representation that you have, right? You're representing the United States, you're representing the company. You might be representing a race, right? Ethnicity, right? Or gender, right? And so you go to these countries and you act a certain way, and they just think everybody acts that way. Like, oh, all women are like that, huh? You from the US, all you women are like that. Or you're African American. Oh, it's just always funny to me. I was in Jordan one time, and they were out, we were out playing. The guys were playing basketball, whatever. And so I just happened to be one of the few black officers in my unit, in my the battalion, and well, probably the only one, but and they were out there playing basketball, and one of the Jordanian guys was like, "Oh no, we want him, want the black guy," because they think all black guys can play basketball. Now, fortunately for them, I can. Okay, I used to be really good, right? College, I used to be good, but I had friends that black they suck, they're trash, right? But they see certain things when they see you, right? And they think that's what you are based on the stereotypes, right? And you have to dispel those things, but you're going to do that by your behavior, by understanding the culture and sitting down with them and saying, look, I know what you think you see on TV, like all black people like play basketball and we all can rap, and we can't. I can't rap. I don't even care about rapping, right? I can't play basketball, yes, but I'm also, I don't wear a bunch of jewelry. I don't do all those things you see on TV, okay? Just like white people don't do all the stuff you see on TV, okay? They're not crazy. They don't, Mexicans don't do it. Like, it's just a lot of things that people see on TV that they try to stick on you, all right? And so when you go overseas assignment, you have to kind of be able to deal with that also, right? And kind of like deterring or kind of like breaking up their perception of certain people, right? Of certain things, right? Because they just think, all Americans are nosy or obnoxious, and all white guys are cowboys. Sometimes it's just funny, it cracks me up. It's like the cowboys, like no, all white people are cowboys, right? There's cowboys everywhere. There's Mexican cowboys, there's black cowboys, there's cowboys everywhere, okay? Or they see something weird, like the question I always get asked about them is, I haven't get asked this in a long time because I haven't been overseas like that, but Eminem. Anybody familiar with Eminem, the rapper?
A white rapper.
The white rapper
From
from
Detroit.
Detroit?
He's actually he has sold more than any other rapper in
In
history.
history, exactly.
Yeah, he has sold more than anyone else in history.
So it's a very strange thing to when you go overseas and they see a white rapper. A lot of them like
Eminem.
Eminem, yeah, Eminem,
Oh, I
yeah.
like Eminem. I
Yeah.
like Eminem.
Not Eminem,
Not
no, not
Eminem.
Eminem, yeah. Eminem, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody knows Eminem, right? But he's white, all right? But sometimes I remember way back in the day, I got asked a question about, what do you think about Eminem? He's white. He shouldn't be able to rap like that. Like, I don't know what that means. Really shouldn't rap like that. You could be white, like, it doesn't matter. If he's white, black, whatever, he's got the skill set, that's what he does. And if you ask anybody who really understands rap and the music, they would tell you that he's probably one of the greatest rappers that ever lived, right? If not the greatest, right? And no one will dispute that. You can ask anybody. You can ask Dr. Dre, you can ask Snoop Dogg, you can ask all the big rap guys. Anybody that knows music will tell you Eminem is probably one of the best that ever did, if he's not the best ever, right? And so there's a lot of things that go with understanding, like being in a community where you're the foreigner, right? And you're trying to assimilate into the culture and not trying to offend anyone, right? Which is the first thing, right? But also do your job at a high level, high capacity. And then if you have your family with you, make sure they assimilate well, right? And that, things go well. So either way, all these HR issues that people worry about and have to take care of and stuff like that, right? I'm gonna talk about that. Kind of the same thing. It's not really not. So I'll just brush on it real quick. One of the benefits or one of the things that, giving someone an overseas assignment does, it exposes them, right? If you get offered a foreign or overseas assignment, more than likely they're looking at you to move up. They're looking to groom you, okay? Because as you start to move up the ranks, right, and the levels of the company, it becomes more global, right? Because now you're thinking more strategic, you're thinking more wholesale, right? You're thinking broader, right? You're not thinking about yourself or this particular department. You're talking about the company and the company's place in the global landscape, right? And so they send you overseas, they're trying to get you exposed to certain things, right? And they also want to see how well you do, right? How do you do with being in an environment that you've never been in before? How well do you do with producing or conducting business and bringing money, creating revenue? Do you have the innovative type mindset that's going to propel us into foreign markets, right? Because they're really trying to groom people so that they can have the next set of leaders that have exposure with foreign business, right? You can't just one day say, okay, you're an intern and then tomorrow we're gonna send you to, whatever country and you're gonna be in charge of everything. It doesn't work that way, right? You go, you learn, but every time you go, it's an exposure thing. You learn something new because at every level, there's different things you're doing, right? When you're at the bottom, you're doing the menial tasks. You're getting the coffee, you're doing the reports, you're emptying the trash, stuff like that. When you get hired, you don't do those things, right? You go on to dinners with such and such, all right? You get to a certain level, like, oh, you have to go to this gala with the governor or the president or the prime minister, right? There's dignitaries coming in, delegates and that kind of thing. So as you get hired, you get exposed to different things, right? You get exposed to the real politics of everything, right? And being in a foreign assignment, a lot of it is political, it's politics, right? Knowing how to sit down and talk to people, knowing how to negotiate and understand, okay, at what point are we good, right? Did I get everything I wanted? No. Did I get even half of what I wanted? No. Did I get something? Sure, that's enough, right? You got 70 this time, I get 30. Next time, I get 70, you might get 30, right? There's nuance to it, right? And this is what the company's trying to see, how well you do the job, right? Because we're going to expose you to this particular job, and hopefully you come back, and you've excelled, you did well, we're gonna move you up. Because now you hit a notch, say, yep, that person has global experience. Check. That person has experience managing people in a global setting or foreign environment. This person's used to dealing with delegates or dealing with senior level folks, right? And so you get to do those things and you get to show them like, all right, I'm ready for the next thing. I'm ready for the next responsibility, right? And that's one of the functions of overseas assignments is to kind of see who's ready for the next level, right? Who's ready to really take on and potentially be on the CEO path, right? And that's not for everyone necessarily, but if you really look at most CEOs, they have some exposure to foreign business. They've dealt some capacity. They've had some dealings with foreign entities, whether it be that they worked out a deal with China for labor or parts and manufacturing or just, their inventory in general, or they've actually went and they spent time there and worked for the company in a foreign setting, all right? We're looking to see who is willing to learn and adapt because that's a skill set that you need no matter what. Adaptability, ability to compromise, ability to negotiate, ability to be a diplomat. So those things get seen, how do you do in adverse conditions, right? In a not so friendly environment when you have everything, right? One of the things we have in the Marine Corps, you're never gonna get 100% of the information. 70%, make a decision, okay? Most things, you're gonna have 40%, 50% of the information you need. Can you make a decision, right? And stick with it and make it happen. So they evaluate all these things. So there's also, that aspect of it and trying to figure out, okay, why is it important for us to, have foreign assignments? They also are helpful in easing political tensions, right? So this is an interesting one that I like. So, we don't necessarily have a good we have a good professional working relationship with China, but, there's a lot of things we don't like about China. There's things China don't like about us. And the relationship is rocky, right? Aside from the business aspect of it, China and the United States, we tolerate each other for the most part, right? All right. So what's the one thing that China does that the United States is a recipient of benefits from, but it's more of a, not an olive branch, but more of a show of, hey, we want to try to work on our relationship. We want to show you that we can, work with different countries and be, amicable and really try to grow this relationship. There's something that they do that is pretty well known. China, not just China, China in general.
They send them.
They send pandas. No, that's it. They send the pandas, right? You don't think about it that way, right? But the panda is like one of their biggest, like
National treasure.
yeah, national treasures and one of their biggest, I want to say staff.
When they bring the panda, it's guarded with helicopters.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like a president of the country.
Yeah. the pandas were here in San Diego for 20 years.
They took it back, right?
They took them back. They're coming back next year. Yeah, they're coming back next year.
Yeah.
Because for China, it's showing the United States like, look, we know we're not the best friends, but here's the pandas. We're gonna lend you our kids, okay? You're gonna take care and you're gonna feed them, and we love pandas, right? The zoo's gonna make so much money. They love pandas, but for China, it's a political tool, all right? Because guess what? Hey, United States, we let you borrow pandas. Can you give us some rice? Can you ease up on these tariffs? Right? Can you send more business our way? We like to get into this, AI stuff, right? But we don't want to steal the technology like we normally do. So can you send some folks to help us out here, right? It's a tool that they use, right? And you don't necessarily see it that way. We don't necessarily see it that way because we just see pandas at the zoo, and we like pandas. I love pandas. I like watching them, and they eat their little bamboo and have a good time. They roll around. They're clumsy. They're cute. I wouldn't go hug one, but they're fun to look at. All right. For China and the United States, it's a political tool. And when China does that, it's kind of like the United States eases up. They soften because it's a gesture towards, hey, we want things to be cool. We want things to be amicable. We need to work things out, all right? So we're going to send the pandas over. And then they're going to come back here to San Diego. I don't worry about the compensation. It just, that's just a compensation and is relative to the company on how they do it. Right, they can keep it to where your pay stays within the currency of the host nation. I mean, of the home country, or they can change it to the host nation currency or the way they pay over there. But at the end of the day, really the only change in compensation is if you are going to get some kind of overseas assignment pay, right? Depending where you're at, if it's hazardous duty pay. So there's different incentives and different benefits to the pay, but the pay, really at the end of the day, I find that most companies are going to keep it in a currency that they're currently in, right? Because if you're getting dollars in the United States, they're gonna probably keep it in dollars, right? Because especially now, because everything's electronic, it's not like you gotta go to the bank, get baht or get, euros or something like that. You just go to your bank and you can pull money out. It converts it automatically on the ATM, so it's not a big deal, right? So that's not such a big deal anymore. It's not such a really big issue. All right, some different approaches to HR, global HR, right? Ethnocentric, polycentric, regional centric, and geocentric, right? So ethnocentric really talks about, being involved, revolving around us, right? When you're ethnocentric, you feel that your particular race, your particular ethnicity is like superior, right? And it's the thing that should be, kind of be the standard globally, okay? And so companies that kind of have an ethnocentric approach when it comes to HR, what they do is they kind of take their policies that they have at home and try to sprinkle it globally, try to use it everywhere, right? Instead of adhering to the regional or the local way of doing business, they try to do it their way, right? Just like Walmart took, their way of doing it, they try to take it to Canada, right? And they just take it everywhere, but they don't adjust to the local environment or local community, right? Concentric, basically, you kind of have a variety of different approaches to it, right? And you really look at each approach and say, okay, well, there's value in that one, there's value in that one, and you kind of keep it open to where, we'll see when we get there, but we'll adjust if necessary. But we have a lot of options, right? And we're willing to really take it from anywhere, right? If it's a Japanese approach, but we're in Colombia and it works, that's what we're gonna do, okay? Regional-centric really depends on the region, all right? How they do business in that region is how we're gonna do business, right? And we focus it on, the local laws, local procedures, local policies, that kind of thing. Say, hey, look, we're gonna take this particular way of doing things because that's the way they do it, and we're gonna implement and integrate it into how we do business while we're here. Okay, so very much focuses on like so like we were talking about on the break, McDonald's, Burger King, all the fast food places, right? Like I said, McDonald's in Europe is not the same as McDonald's here, right? When you go to McDonald's in Hawaii, as I was saying, they have different local foods. They have rice, they have musubi, they have seaweed, right? They have all these things that you won't find on the menu here in the United States. When you go to India, there's no hamburger, right? When you go to, Japan or China, the KFC is a big deal. Yeah, mostly right, but it's a big deal, right? You gotta make a reservation. People go there for Christmas, they get dressed up to go to KFC, right? We laugh, but for them, it's a big deal, right? Just the same way sometimes when we go to Chinese restaurants here, depending on the Chinese restaurant, right? I seen a lot of people dressed up in PF Chang's, right? Huh? I think it's okay. It's not really what I would call fancy per se, but it's a chain. It's all right. It's not. Yeah, it's okay.
Taco Bell won the restaurant wars.
Yeah, Taco Bell, the restaurant wars. Yeah, just funny. Geocentric is basically, look, we're going to kind of take our policies and the way we do things and try to incorporate it universally across the globe. Okay, no matter what, we're taking it. We're gonna take this style here. We take this style here. We're gonna take this style here. But we're trying to make sure that the way we do things is, kind of incorporated universally. Okay, so in each one is kind of each of these particular approaches. They really are rooted in race, ethnicity, and culture, right? Because they have to do with if let's say Nazi Germany in the 40s, very ethnocentric. Okay, Hitler was very ethnocentric. He thought the Aryan race was like dominant race, superior to all man, right? Ethnocentric mindset. Okay, and so it's the same thing in business, but we don't necessarily. It doesn't have a bad connotation to it. It's just the fact that, like, look, we have something that we think is good, and we want to try to use it everywhere, right? Kind of a template, kind of a cookie cutter sort of thing, right? Sometimes you go to housing communities and all the houses look the same. That's because somebody thought like, hey, this house design is fantastic. They just make 100 of them and everything looks the same, right? No big deal, right? That's just the mindset, okay? So not necessarily a crazy big deal, but when you're looking at, international HR, companies will look at where they're going, why they're going, who's going, and then kind of figure out, okay, what's the best approach for us as a company to go in? Do we need to go ahead and, be more local and think about it that way? Or do we have a system here that we can plug and play anywhere and will work? All right? One thing with one of my former instructors always told me, like, you want to think global, but you want to act local. Okay? Think global, but act local. You can, do all the things you want to do internally on a global level and think you're going to conquer the world. But when you get there to where you're going to go, you have to understand what's going on in that community, right? Can they afford what I'm selling? Do they even want what I'm selling, right? And do I need to create a market for that, right? I can't remember the show. There's a show I'm watching on Netflix now. It's pretty interesting. I think it's called Warrior.
San Francisco?
Yeah,
Chinatown?
Yeah,
I just
China, yeah.
finished it.
Yeah,
I'm hoping they come out with season 4.
yeah. It's an interesting show because it gives you an idea about how San Francisco was early on and how the immigrants, the Chinese immigrants, kind of dealt. Huh? Yeah, launch. Yeah, amongst other things. Yeah, but then that, and then also the other groups of folks, right? The Irish folks, right? Then you had the African American folks that were there, and seeing how they interact and how they are trying to all work with each other. Even though the business they were doing was illegal, they were selling opium and moving molasses and that kind of thing, right? And then just the contrast of the people that are from there, the Americans that were just, the leaders and kind of in position of power, and how all those dynamics play into how people, saw San Francisco, saw the world, saw their kind of, livelihood and how it affected them. So, I'm only on season 2.
I won't spoil it for you.
No, I wouldn't listen to it.
Warrior.
Warrior, yeah. It's a really good show. It has a, a action type theme, right? Martial arts, but it's different. It's just different. Oh, they got the regular Irish brawler. They got the Chinese martial artists. They have the black people. It's a very interesting show. I didn't think I would like it, but thus far it's pretty.
That's fairly historical accuracy.
Absolutely, yeah. Very, very accurate. And it does it in a way that you can actually look and go, oh, what, that's interesting. You never think about those things about how a country is formed, right? In the beginning, because most countries aside from the United States are very old, right? They've been around for centuries, right? More than centuries.
That was late
many,
1800s.
right? Late 1800s, right?
Frontier with Jason Momoa
Mm-hmm.
is
The one?
an earlier, like
Version of
it's just after the revolution, but
Okay.
that's a pretty
Mhm.
decent one too. Some historical accuracy
Okay.
with the HBC and all that.
Okay. Yeah, pretty good stuff. So, either way, that's all I got. Any questions? Comments, complaints? All right. So this week, last week, right? So what's due is the paper, presentation, and the video, right? PowerPoint, and you can do the 2-in-1, right? You can have the slides, you can do the voiceover as far as the slides go. You don't need to send me 2 different things. If you send me the video, you're presenting the video, the slides.
No need to start.
I don't need the slide deck separately.
Just like what we do with
Yeah, but then you guys, yeah, sometimes you guys submit all of them, but I just need the 2 things, the paper and the presentation, the video.
the individual and then the paper and the group video.
Yeah, the group stuff you have to do, so there's a couple of things to do. So basically your paper and the group work. Okay, quiz, and then you'll be done with me. All right.
For now.
For now, right, for now.
Till we meet again.
Till we meet
When
again.
I receive you again.
I don't know. Everybody's on a different path, so who knows? More than likely, yeah, you'll see me. I'm teaching operations management next term, but at a master's level. So you probably not gonna see me then. When it's time for you to take stats, whenever they get enough people, they'll put the stats class together. You'll see me probably then. Statistics. Was that not?
Oh, I don't have something.
You have statistics.
Everybody.
Everybody
Well,
has statistics.
You will.
Oh, you will. Don't worry.
I
Yes.
don't see it. I think
Oh, it's there. Don't you worry. It's down. It's there. All right. That's all I got. Zoom. Any questions, Nara?
No questions, Professor.
Okay. It was good having you in class, and hopefully I see you soon again.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye.
Dr. Mofadi asked me to contact you before this class about some dissertation questions.
Yeah. We never got to talk. Yeah.
Can I contact you? Like,
Yeah.
to contact them?
Absolutely. Just email me. Yeah, absolutely. We never get the chance.